Hello everyone, welcome back again to Excel with Ugo. I have only one question for you. How long do you think it will take you to convert a large and scary data such as this to multiple reports like this? There's only one way to find out, so make sure you watch this video to the end. In today's video, you'll be learning how to auto-fit large data. You'll be learning how to convert range of data into normal Excel table. You will learn how to insert pivot table, how to use Excel's recommended pivot tables. You will be learning how to insert the slicer and connect the slicer to multiple reports, how to build multiple reports and analyze them. You would also be learning how to deal with error messages when working with pivot table, and so much more. This video will expose you to the secrets of working efficiently with Excel's pivot table. And if you're interested in any specific area, I will timestamp this video so you can quickly jump into your area of interest and start watching. So let's get started. Okay, so the first tool that should come to your mind when it has to do with analyzing data such as this, no matter how large that data is pivot table. Pivot table is a very essential tool of Microsoft Excel that helps you to analyze and summarize data in various forms without having to input any mathematical formulas. So take a look at this data. You can see how messy and dirty this data is. Rows are jamming each other and columns are jamming each other. Some data are hidden. You can barely see the numbers. First thing I would like to do is to have a quick auto fit of the columns and rows to enable us have a clearer view of the information we are to work with. To do that, you first highlight all the cells that contains the data using Ctrl A, or you do a quick click of this drop down arrow just underneath the name box to highlight the entire worksheet. Then to quickly auto fit your column width, you use the shortcut key Alt-HOI. And to auto-fit your row height, you use the shortcut key Alt-HOA. Now, as you can see, we have a clearer view of those data that were initially jammed up together. Before you insert your pivot tables, there are certain things you must do. 1. Ensure that each column of your data has a header. 2. Ensure that there are no empty cells in between your data. To do a quick check to find out whether you have an empty cell in between your data, you can press down the Shift key and the Control key and press the down arrow, and this should take you to the last number in your data. If you had any empty cell in between that column, it would stop you at the point where you had the empty cell. Let's say you had an empty cell at this point. Once you go press your Shift and Control key and your down arrow, it's going to stop you at the point where there was an empty cell. So this will help you make any necessary correction. This is a quick guide to help you check through your data before inserting your pivot tables. You must also ensure you don't have any total or subtotal in between your data. So after checking all these boxes, you can now go ahead and insert your pivot tables. To do that, you click on the Insert tab and you click on Pivot Tables. Notice that Excel has highlighted a fixed range of the cells that contains the data. What this implies is that at any time a new data is introduced, it will not be reflected in your pivot table, except you go back and start adjusting the selected range. But to save yourself from all that stress, it is advisable you convert your range of cells into a normal Excel table. To do that, still on the Insert tab, you click on Table. Once this dialog box appears, you must ensure that My Table Has Header box is checked, and you click on OK. Now our data has been converted to a normal Excel table. You can take out the colors if you don't want it. Just go to the Table Styles group and scroll up to the first style, which is None, and you click on it. Then it takes out those colors. You can also uncheck the filter box to remove the filter. Now, if you go back to the Insert tab and click on Pivot Tables, you can see that Excel recognizes that our data is in a table and no longer a range. Let's put a name to this table. To do that, you click on the table tools and you go to the name and type your preferred name. So this error message came up because of the space we had in between the name. So just retype the name and remove the space. Back to our insert tab, click on pivot table. You select that the table be placed on a new worksheet and click on OK. This area here is where the report you want to build will appear. And this field list, if you look closely, are the same list of headers we had in our Excel table. And these are the items we would use to build our report. So to start building your report, just select any header you want to get insight from. You click on it and drag it to any area of your choice. Let's put it in the rows, and you would see that it has brought out the list of the customer names. Then let's select the sales and put it under the value section, and it also brought out the sales amount to each of those customers. But for efficiency's sake, let me introduce you to Excel's recommended pivot tables. So you go to your insert tab, and instead of clicking the pivot tables, you click on recommended pivot tables. What Excel has done is to provide you with several templates of an already built report from your data. So if you look through, you may actually be lucky to find one of the reports you're looking for. And if you come across anyone, what you need to do is to click on it. And so since one of my reports includes sales by state, I'll just click on this first one that shows me sum of sales by state, and I'll click OK. So now this is a good foundation for me to start working with. I can choose to add any other field I'd like to add on this particular report. Since I want to find out which particular state recorded the highest sales in all of the regions and in each specific region, so what I will do is to go include my region in this report to help me identify that state. So I'll go to my pivot table field list, select region and drag it. So the good thing with pivot table is while you're dragging your field to any area, you can see if that is where you would want it to be. So if you're not okay with where it is, you can easily change it to another area. So let's leave it in this column section. By default, your report will show you row labels and column labels instead of a specific title to your fields. But to change that, you go to your pivot tables tools and you click on the design tab. Then you click on the report layout. Then you select show in tabular form. Now you can see those fields have changed to their specific title. So let's change our region field and put it in the filter area. This helps make the report a bit more flexible. When you check the select multiple item box, you have the option to focus on each particular region. Let's say we want to see the sum of sales by state in the central region. You click on it and click OK. Then it shows you that. Let's check for the western region. And this is how you go about it. To put a 1000 separator to these numbers, you right click. Do not use the format cells option, but use the number format option. You select number format, you click on number, check the 1000 separator box, click OK. With the number format, your formatting will remain as you expand your pivot table. To easily identify which states recorded the highest sales, let us sort in descending order. You right click and you click on sort and select sort from largest to smallest. When we check for the western region, California recorded the highest sales in the Western region. So as a foundation for the other reports I want to build, I'll just be copying this particular pivot table using Ctrl C, and I'll paste it using Ctrl V. With this now, I can start adjusting my fields. Let's say I want to find out which customer generated the highest sales in all regions and in each specific region. So I'll come to my fields and drag my customer name down to the rows area. I don't need the state. I'll just take out the states. I also want to find out which customer accounted for the highest percentage of total sales. What I'll do is to go back to the field list and drag my sales and take it to the values area again, and now I'm having another field that I can adjust. Then you can right click and click on show values as percentage of grand total. Please take out time to explore other options there in case you're interested in something else. In trying to change my title from sum of sales to sales, this error message appeared because I'm using a name that already exists in the pivot table fields. So when you're faced with something like this, all you need to do is to either put a space before or after the name, or you change the name completely. Then I'll sort in descending order, as this helps me classify the data from the highest to the lowest value. With this, I can easily identify which customer generated the highest sales and which customer accounts for the highest percentage of total sales. Still using this as a foundation, I'll just copy and paste. So this time I want to find out which category of products contributed to the highest sales. I'll go to my field list and drag category to the rows area. This time I want the state to remain. To change the color of your table, you just go to the pivot table styles and select your preferred color. I'll go with this color. Now I want to remove the subtotals. To do that, you click on your pivot table to bring out the pivot table options. Then you go to the design tab and go to subtotals and click on do not show subtotals. If you don't want these small buttons just beside the states, you go to the analyze tab and click on buttons to take it out. And if you don't like the blank spaces, you want to fill it up, you go to the design tab, you click on report layout, you select repeat all item labels, so it fills up those blank spaces. And to remove them, you go back to the report layout and you click on do not repeat all item labels to take them out. Let me move the state to the filter area. For this report, my grand total is not showing. To bring it back, in the design tab, you go to the layout group and click on grand total, select on for rows and columns, and it appears. In building the other reports, let me introduce you to Slicer. I want to change the region in the filter fields and put it as Slicer. To do that, you go to the analyze tab and you click on insert slicer. Then you see the list of your fields. Then you select whichever one you want to add as slicer. Click on OK. Or we go to the pivot table fields. Let's go to region, right click, click on add as slicer. We can adjust our slicer by going to the slicer tool options. Let's increase the number of columns. Let's adjust the height and the width. So instead of using the filter, you can use the slicer to change to different regions just with one click. You can also select multiple regions by holding down the Control key and selecting more than one region. I can now remove the region from the filter area since my slicer can do the work. So notice that the slicer is connected to this report alone. I would want it to affect these other two reports. So what I would do is to connect them together by first clicking on the table that doesn't have the slicer. Then go to the Analyze tab, click on Filter Connections. Then you check this box, click OK. We'll do the same thing for the other table. Now you can see that all the three tables have been connected to the slicer. So it's safe to remove the regions for all the reports from the filter areas, since we can use the slicer in place of them. If you want to move a pivot table from one location to another, first click on the table you want to move, go to the Analyze tab and click on Move Pivot Table. Select the area I want to keep it and press Enter. Now let's find out the year with the highest order. We can now adjust. I'll go and pick the order date and drag it to the rows area. Then I can take out the dates because I don't need it. So I like to change this date format to a monthly basis. To do that, right click on Group. Then you have the option to select whether you want it in months, quarters or years. I'll just select months and click OK. But remember, these months are the months of all the 4 years put together. This is what the yearly format looks like. But I'd rather leave it on this monthly format. Go to my pivot table field. On the other data, right click and select Add as Timeline. The timeline box appears. I'll come over here and select year. From here, I'll go to my timeline options to adjust the height and the width. Then I can drag it and keep it here. With this, when you click on any of the years, you can see the monthly figures changes. This makes your report flexible. You can select which year you want to analyze and which month would give you the highest sales in each of those years. We can easily see that in the Western region in 2020 and 2021, we received the highest order in December. But for the Southern region in the year 2021, we received the highest order in February. Let's look at the East. When you see this kind of error message, a pivot table report cannot overlap another pivot table report. It means that you have a particular table that is trying to expand either horizontally or vertically, but cannot be expanded because there is another table blocking it. So what you need to do is to move that table you think is causing the restriction. I've mentioned earlier how to move a table. Let's move forward. Just like we did for the slicer, I would like to connect the other tables to the timeline. To do that, we would first select the table that does not have the timeline connected. Then we'll go to the Analyze tab, click on Filter Connection, then check the Other Dates box and click OK. And we'll do this for all the other tables as well. When we come to the timeline and click on each year, you can see that the reports can be easily analyzed on a year-by-year basis based on these connections. I've added the segment as a slicer and done the connections to each individual report. This will help us identify our highest performance for all reports in each segment. Let's say you mistakenly close this pivot table field list. To get it back, you go to the Analyze tab and click on the Field List option, and it comes back. Let's change the grand total to total. Remember I said from the beginning that while we convert our range of data into a normal Excel table is such that when a new data is added, it will be automatically updated. All we need to do is to go to our report, click on it, then go to the Analyze tab and click on Refresh and select Refresh All. The changes affected the consumer segment. Now you can see the new data updated in this particular report. So we are stopping here for today. I hope you enjoyed this session. What other reports do you think we could have generated to analyze? Please drop it in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in other videos.